tonight. We've dealt with nat gas, coal. Now look at the price of oil this morning. You're at $75.67 a barrel. Former Energy Secretary under Trump, Brouillette, joins me now. Look, Mr. Secretary, how quickly can we boost domestic oil production to offset any issues with Iran? We've got to have a fast boost if the supply gets cut quickly. So can we do it?
Absolutely, Stuart. Yes, we can. That's been the great news story about U.S. oil production over the course of the last decade or so. You know, with the onset of shale production in places like the Permian Basin in Texas, the use of technologies like hydraulic fracturing, we can now raise that production in very short order and supply the market with pretty much whatever it needs.
Can we just say, right, we need an extra million barrels a day? We're already producing 13.3 million a day right now. Can we just snap our fingers and say, right, we need an extra million? And can we get it immediately?
I think we can get it very fast. I don't know if we can snap our fingers and make it happen tomorrow, Stuart. But look, this industry is incredibly innovative, and they know how to do this. So if the task were put to them, raise production, I have every confidence in the world they can do it.
Okay. Mr. Senate Republicans, they're refusing to save clean energy tax credits. I'm wondering, is this the death of electric vehicles?
It could be. I think what the Senate is very concerned about is the consumer aspects of these credits. So providing people with, quote, free money to buy certain products is something that the Senate, the House, many on Capitol Hill are very concerned with. I do think what the Senate has done in its bill, however, is appropriately address the credits for actual energy production. And what they've done, basically, is, yes, they will remove the credits, but they will remove them over a longer period of time. And I think the industry can react to that very, very well.
Can I go back to oil and the supply of oil? There's a lot of talk about if the situation gets worse in Iran, the Iranians will try to block the Straits of Hormuz, which is a vital corridor for the supply of natural gas and oil all around the world. Are they in a position to block the Straits of Hormuz? Could they do that?
Well, I think they would try. I don't think they would be successful in doing that. And what you're seeing in the oil market today, Stuart, I think is largely based on that type of disruption. It's both a production disruption and it's a shipping movement of oil production. So obviously the Straits of Hormuz, places like the Suez Canal, other places are important bottlenecks to the movement of oil to the world markets. And that's what I think the market is beginning to price today in this roughly $8 to $10 increase that we've seen over the last few days. But also importantly, Stuart, I think it's important for us to recognize that, unless Israel or others attack the production of Iran, what we're seeing is that right now, most of that production is going to China. So if China comes back into the market and starts to begin to buy OPEC plus, perhaps American oil, that demand is continuing to push pricing up as well, which lays bare some of the predictions that we've seen from places like the IEA and others who suggest that peak oil demand is here. I would disagree. I don't think it is. That increased demand from places like China and others is also pushing the markets slightly higher.
Okay. Brouillette, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Take care.